This is the April 2nd regular meeting of the Lenox Select Board. We have CTSB recording live, and we have Clarence Fanto here from the Berkshire Eagle. The only announcement that I have that I'd like to note is that our local bookstore here in town, the Lenox Bookstore, is this week celebrating 49 continuous years of being in operation there, and I think that's a sentiment that should be congratulated.
Yes, pretty long time. Yeah.
And I know that they've had some very strong local support over the years to remain there, and I think in this day and age, that's phenomenal. Could I have a motion for, does anyone else have anything to do?
Yeah, we don't have the minutes to accept.
Oh, that's right.
Citizens open forum.
So we are going to catch up on minutes on the 16th, so I'll leave it if anybody has open forum items to discuss. I know we have, go ahead, Katie.
As long as I'm here. Kate McNulty Vaughn, 10 Post Road. I am a member of the Planning Board, and I'd like to remind citizens that the Planning Board has a public hearing scheduled for next Tuesday night at 6 p.m. here in Town Hall, and it's to cover and give you an opportunity to respond, comment, look ahead to the 3 warrant articles that the Planning Board will have on the May agenda for a town meeting. So it's mobile food establishments, fencing, and the educational and religious institutional bylaw. So those are the 3 things that you'll see on your May town warrant. So please attend the public hearing and let us know, give us some feedback before we get to town meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Anybody else now? Because we have presentations to come. Okay, Ed, let's move on to our agenda, please.
Consent agenda. The first one is to ratify the collective bargaining agreement between the town of Lenox and the Teamsters Local 404 DPW for fiscal year 2026 and 2028. I'll put a hold on that if Jay wants to comment on that. Mm-hmm. The next one is a request for a temporary sandwich board sign at the community center lawn for spring and fall Fix-It Fair to be displayed from Monday, April 7th through Saturday, April 12th, and Monday, October 13th through Saturday, October 18th. And I'll put a hold on that because we have Katie Vaughn here that may want to amend those dates a little bit. And next we have a special license request for a 1-day liquor license submitted by Karen Hines for wine and malt beverage only. Thursday, April 3rd from 4:30 to 6 at 27 Church Street, Like Living, for their grand opening. So we have 2 holds. Do we want to just do the license request, hold on that first, and get that out of the way?
Sure.
So make a motion, we do the special license for the 1-day liquor license for Karen Hines.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So, Jay?
So getting to the collective bargaining agreement for the town of Lenox and Teamsters Local 404. Teamsters represent all the members of our local DPW. That includes Highway Division, Water, and Wastewater. All 3 of our employees, there's 3 groups of our employees in Lenox are represented by collective bargaining. That would be police, fire, and DPW. All 3 contracts expire this June. So we've been working diligently since I came on board in January to try to get those squared away, mostly to be able to have correct and accurate numbers for salary increases in the ensuing fiscal year as we build the budget. We had a couple of meetings with the members of the Teamsters. We were able to come to an agreement. They ratified that. The board was presented that information last week in executive session to go over the terms of the agreement. So we have an agreement now for 26 to 28 as long as the board ratifies it, signs it tonight, and we'll be locked in, and we'll have those budgetary numbers, the budgetary impact locked in for fiscal year 26. And I do just want to say we have a preliminary agreement with members of Mass Cops 362, which is our police union. We were able to come to a tentative agreement this week. So that will be forthcoming as well. So if that holds, I don't see why it wouldn't. We'll have that data also locked in for fiscal 26, and that will leave us with fire. And we'll see how well we can do there. But we did a base wage adjustment year 1 for fiscal 26 for DPW. Lenox has been very active at keeping its salaries competitive, market rate based, in order to attract and retain. We were able to do that. And then the final 2 years of the contract, 2.5% cost of living increases. And that will keep us, at least for the next 3 years, within the range. We're not the highest paid, we're not the lowest paid.
I'll add that I think Billy and you did a great job.
Thank you.
I ran over to DPW and sat down with a few people. With Travis, I saw him and a few others, and I think they're feeling like we appreciated them. I hope they do. And
Yeah, I think they did. They do have that feeling, and give them credit. I think they understood the impact that our health benefits that we're stuck with, 16%, is factored in there, and it's there's not endless money, and they recognize that, and
That's right.
so it was a good negotiation.
Yeah, we thought so. They were good to work with. We have good. It's important for people at home to reckon we have good employees here. We have good staff. They're not necessarily myopic and just worried about doing their job. They're able to understand their role within municipal government and the impact on that. So it was a good negotiation. We got some work rules changed that do favor the town. We were able to do some things that favor our employees. One of them is, as you folks were saying, with wastewater and water, our folks are required to have special licenses. And in the Berkshires, these positions are getting hard to find. It's getting hard to find people with proper licenses. So on the municipal operations side, it's important that we remain competitive so we can retain them and also attract folks. And there's some provisions in the new agreement that if the town pays for a water license or a wastewater license or a commercial driver's license, a CDL, or a hoisting license, that employee has some buyback time. So we want that employee to be invested and demonstrate some value to the town if we're going to invest in that. And then after a certain period of time, they're free to move on. But it was a good negotiation, and I think it puts our employees in a good spot, and we'll be able to keep the team that we have that frankly does a great job here.
Yeah, I just want to also mention that they're doing a great job filling in the sidewalks. I know that's a contractor, but DPW is overseeing that, and they're doing a great job. That project's moving along very nicely. Hopefully everything will be well underway by the time the season starts in July. But we take great pride in our roads being well maintained. They do a great job removing the snow every year, and we're relatively pothole free, which is a delight to drive your car and not have to worry. So the people who work at the DPW, I have the greatest respect for everything that they do for us here at Lenox.
Perfect. So I'll make a motion to ratify the negotiation for the collective bargaining agreement with the Department of Public Works.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we're going to, Katie, do you want to tell us?
Hello, I'm Kate McNulty Vaughn, 10 Post Road. Now I have my Fix-It Fair hat on, which I really love. And Diego always does me a favor here by doing a close-up of our flyer. How's that? Good. The 16th Fix-It Fair is coming up on Saturday, April 12th. We have another one always in the fall, and that will be October 18th. And I'm here to ask for a sandwich board, actually 2 sandwich board signs. I'm doing it one fell swoop this time. I thought your meeting was next week, and if it had been next week, you would have given me permission from that night to Saturday. So I'd like to amend my request to be Saturday to Saturday. So that would be Saturday the 5th to Saturday the 12th, the date of the Fix-It Fair, and then in the fall, Saturday the 11th of October to the 18th. And I hope that you forgive me for this error.
Say that one again.
5
Okay.
through 12 and 11 through 18.
Perfect. Thank you. So basically, I will begin to put it out. It will be on the lawn in front of the community center. Shannon and I spoke about it the other day. She's all set on that. She'd actually like a sandwich board sign of her own for the community center. I'll just throw that out. I think that's a great idea. So basically, what we do is we fix things for free. It involves sewing, clothing, household items. We'll fix small appliances that people bring in for us. We're awfully good with vacuum cleaners that have never been emptied out. And we're also very good with lamps. We kind of took the prize during the COVID years. We did not have a Fix-It Fair in 2020, but we did in 2021 when we did a virtual one that the community center helped us do. And we must have fixed every reading lamp, every floor lamp, every bedside lamp, dining room, you name it. If there was a lamp in your house, we fixed it probably. It was kind of a record time on those. But we do fix any number of things. If you have something at home that needs to be repaired, you'd like to hang on to it a little longer or whatever, we're non-judgmental. We know sometimes those articles that you've had for a long time are favorites, and if you could just stretch it another year or two, that makes you happy. Or it's something that's come down in your family and it needs to be glued back together, we can help with that. If you give me a call, and my phone number is on all of our flyers. If you give me a call ahead of time, I will put your item out to my volunteers. And that way, if there's some tool that they have at home or, something that might help with that fix, they'll come here that Saturday with that in hand. Frequently, people will run off from us. Somebody will say, oh, I've got that at home. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And we've been able to fix things on the fly that way. But generally, if you give us a call, we can assure you, or we can ask you to bring it and we'll take a look at it. Sometimes we end up with just a diagnosis. More frequently, we are able to fix things for people. I would like to mention that we have a kids' table with help from the Morris crew. It will have adult supervision, but we'd like to encourage children when they break things that they can fix them, repair them, sew them up or whatever, and we'll be helping with that. So if you have any children in your household who just happen to break things and they would like to come Saturday along with you, that would be great. I have failed to mention that Ellen Jacobson normally is here with me. Ellen, who lives at the Curtis, isn't available tonight, but generally Ellen's my colleague in this, along with a lot of amazing volunteers. I put a request out to people. I get all sorts of new people every year who also join us. I have quite a crowd of people who help. We're always in need of more volunteers, though, as people get older. Whoops, yeah, I don't need that anyway. All right. So the other thing is, we do ask that you come in. We have a sheet for you to sign that basically says, yes, we recognize that these are volunteers who are helping. And, it, I guess, frees us of some liability if we botch it. Typically, we don't botch it. We just don't do it if we can't. So we ask you to stick around in case we have questions for you about your item. And in the meantime, we'd like you to enjoy coffee and cookies, which we make sure we have, and, the opportunity for you to join the community of fixers and socialize. One other thing that I want to say is that this is kind of a Berkshire's thing. I have helpers who come in from Lee. I have helpers who come in from Richmond, from Pittsfield, from all over the place. So it's not just folks here in Lenox helping other Lenox people. So if there are people in the other towns, certainly they're welcome to come as well and bring items for us to fix. And historically, that's been what we've done. We do have a spot on our form where we say, do you live in Lenox? Mainly because I'm looking to snag some volunteers, but certainly, we welcome people from any of the Berkshire towns, particularly because what used to be called Repair Cafe is no longer happening in Pittsfield. Thank you especially to the Community Center for their amazing support, and all to my volunteers who are terrific, and to Town Hall, which has always helped us with whatever signage we've asked for. And one of the things that we do is we do have a donation jar, and if you want to donate something, great. If you don't, no problem at all. Over the past few years, we found ourselves with some additional money that we don't really spend or need. So from the first year, we began to donate it to the Eagle Santa Fund and the Ecumenical Food Pantry. We've dropped away from the Eagle Santa Fund, and we're making donations to the Ecumenical Food Pantry and Community Center. And to date, we have passed through $775 of the donations that people so admirably gave to us. So that's pretty much, I think I said everything. All right, so thank you very much, and if you're willing to give me these extra dates, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, thanks, Katie, for how hard you work at it. So I'll make a motion that we accept the amended request for temporary sandwich board sign at Community Center lawn for spring and fall fix-it fair to be displayed from Monday, April 5th through Saturday, April 12th, and Monday, October 11th through Saturday, October 18th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you to all the volunteers. Bear with me here. Tom, how do you feel about, in our general business, we have general discussion of town meeting warrants, but you have one specific one to present. Maybe you should go ahead of our general discussion if you don't mind.
Okay.
Does anyone mind me switching the schedule that way?
It's fine with me.
Terrific. Thank you, Tom.
As you know, I'm Tom Romeo, the chairman of the Board of Assessors, and I'm here, and Heather's here to answer the tough questions, to discuss the June 2024 improvements of the HEROES Act, an act honoring and empowering and recognizing our service members and veterans. I believe you all have a copy of the recent bulletin, so I'll only talk about it very briefly. There are three main improvements of the Act. First, in Clause 22I, if accepted, would enable a qualified veteran to receive an additional cost of living adjustment. The COLA would be determined by the Consumer Price Index for the year as determined by the Department of Revenue. The second improvement would enable veterans who qualify under Clause J, those who have a service-related disability ranging from 1 to 99% would be eligible to receive an additional percentage up to 100%. Up to 100%. The percent increase would be between 5 and 100, would be determined by the Board of Selectors. And for example, in this situation, those who receive $400 currently for this benefit could receive an additional $200 if the board determines or elects to do a 50% increase. Or if they elect to do 100%, the individual will receive an additional $400 for a total of $800. This would enable veterans who also have a service-related disability of 100%, which qualifies them, again, for $1,000 to, again, increase by the approved percentage. So what would the financial impact of these two improvements be? Currently, we have 17 veterans receiving the $400 benefit. So if we were to go to the 100% improvement, the additional cost would be approximately, well, it would be $6,800 plus whatever the COLA would be. In addition, we have 9 veterans receiving a $1,000 benefit. So if we were to go to the 100%, the improvement, the additional cost would be $9,000 plus the COLA. So in summary, the additional cost for both of these improvements going to 100% would be $15,800 plus the COLA. Naturally, the increase would be less if our lower percentage was approved. So, for example, if it's only a 50% approval, then the cost would be $7,900. It's my understanding that the above increases would be covered by the funds received from the state for such benefits. In the event that they're not covered, they could be expensed through the assessor's overlay account. In order for these two improvements to take place, they will need town meeting approval, which we're hoping to take place this May. Sample warrant articles are included in that bulletin, which the town council could review. There is a third improvement under 22E, which entitles veterans who have 100% disability to receive one excise tax completely abated. This is already in effect, so that one does not need further approval. So a couple of things I'd like to mention. The percentage of a disability is done through the Veterans Administration, so we have nothing to do with that when they present us the documents, and that's what we go by. I'll answer any questions I can. If Heather or I cannot, then we always can get the information from Doug Manns, our veteran agent. The Board of Assessors did not take a vote on the percentage increase. So that's really your decision. Personally, I think we should go for the 100%. Otherwise, if you wanted to up it later on, you would have to go to another town meeting. And for the amount of money we're talking about, I think that these folks deserve the 100%. That's my personal opinion, not necessarily the board's.
Well,
Questions?
thank you, Tom, and thank you both. First of all, may we perhaps remove the sample votes from this document so that we can then have them on the table at town meeting for explanation? You know, I mean, I'm certainly going to suggest that we accept this at the full percentage, but I will listen to discourse here.
I didn't get that paper. So.
Okay, so this is just from the Department of Local Services, you know, of the DOR.
Okay.
And this is their legislation update, and the assessors have gone through this, and then, so this is explanation language, and then here they've created sample votes for us, which will take these and run them by town council, and I'm hoping,
Absolutely, yeah.
Tom, you would be willing to present the two articles necessary
Sure.
on May 1st.
Sure. Sure. It's just some of the language within the bulletin itself is a little bit confusing in terms of,
The language needs to be adapted because it's actually more indicative of a meeting minute. It needs to be rephrased for the proper warrant article, which doesn't take much. It's a couple sentences to change. The board just needs to, tonight, be very clear that they wish to present to town meeting to adopt 22I and 22J, and if 22J, what percentage, as Tom explained.
Correct.
Those are the only things. Once the board does that, we can get the warrant articles drafted.
Yeah, I think the challenge with a lot of our warrant articles is that we're required to cite Mass General Law chapters, you know, vociferously. It makes it heavy-handed, and you sometimes get lost in trying to say, this is a benefit to veterans that increases per their degree of disability. And we'd like to do it.
keep it simple.
Exactly.
Yeah, that can go with the explanation language. You have the legal language and the practical language.
Well,
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, there's not too many people that are receiving this benefit, so it seems like if we can allow this benefit to accrue to those people who can best benefit from it, we should go to the 100%, like you said.
Totally agree.
And the people who have the benefit now, they don't have to do anything additional. It just would
That's-
happen automatically.
very helpful too.
So they don't have to submit for tax abatements or anything like
You
that.
still need to provide the annual application and the letter from the veteran, but that would be the same procedure as we have right now.
Great,
They would just receive the extra benefit.
terrific.
And Heather, in terms of financial impact, Heather's probably better than I'm explaining this, but based on what our average annual abatement dollar amount is, if we even added this at the maximum, as Tom said, we're still within the annual budgeted amount to handle that. So it wouldn't have any impact on the budget. There would be less money going back into the overlay surplus, but again, that's what this is for.
Yeah, in some cases, I think that overlay surplus kind of sits there
It does.
untapped.
I can tell you what's in
I
it
don't
right
want to
now.
call it untapped, but
I can tell you too.
That's the deep rainy day fund, Tom.
Most of it is reimbursed from the state too. We submit that annually, and we're not even, that's a set on the cherry sheet that we're not even meeting that. Well, it's budgeted for from the governor
sure.
at this point. Because we don't have, the number of applicants.
The only thing that's confusing on this is on page 3, that DLS bulletin, it says that clauses 22I and 22J are local options that must be accepted. There is no additional state reimbursement for the cost of the additional exemptions.
Correct. But the funds that we receive currently cover it.
So that's a great scenario to be in.
That's terrific. Yeah,
let's
these
do it.
people have, worked long and hard for our country, and if they're disabled, this is the local.
Here, here.
You have that.
Yeah. But how about the 100%? Where do we add that into this motion?
So the motion include warrant authorized town meeting except provisions, general laws, chapter 9, section 7, 22 and 20, and
And, right.
22J.
Is 20, which one's the 100%?
22J.
22J, so I should.
So cross out the or, and 22J
22J.
at 100%.
22E is currently, 22J would cover both 22E and 22, which is fine.
You're saying 22E and 22J?
22J and 22I are in addition. Right now, we have 22E. Anybody who is 100% disabled qualifies under 22E. This 22J would qualify that.
So we're only putting these two clauses in here,
Correct.
in this motion, to
Right.
get it on town meeting, right?
Yeah, so cross out the or and then 22J at 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make a motion to include warrant article asking for town meeting to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clauses 221 and 22J at 100%.
I'm just going to correct, sorry, just for clarification, 22I, not 221.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know. Just if there's someone out there watching.
Yep, do you want me to reread it?
No,
No, we got it, it's 22I.
Sections 22I, clauses 22I and 22J, Section 5, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, and you're asking that 22J, the town make a motion to accept that at 100% reimbursement rate.
Correct.
could someone second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I am abstaining because I am a disabled vet.
You'll be able to say yes at town meeting.
I will.
Thank you, Tom and Heather, for
Yes.
explaining this to us. It's not for the faint of heart.
Tom, while you're working on the warrant articles, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I wrote it.
I'll take care of it for
Thank
you.
you.
just say alphabet, 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 please. Yeah. Okay. I gotta
Okay.
keep these in somewhat order. You want to go back to timeline on warrant articles?
Sure.
Okay, so I skipped there for people at home because I didn't want Tom and Heather to have to wait while we talked about general topics for annual town meeting, but we're now going to discuss that now. Or we are going to discuss that now. Leading into that discussion, we clearly will have the traditional motions for spring, the budget presentation, school's budget presentation. What I can say now is that while we've heard a lot about sign bylaw changes, the planning board is talking, as you heard earlier, about mobile food trucks, institutional uses, and fences. Religious and educational uses.
May I correct something?
Please.
Yes. The public hearing will also cover the sign bylaw, but we will not be bringing it to the May town meeting as of our last planning board meeting.
Yes, I'm just trying to
Okay,
clarify
so
what
I
you'll
just want to say
present.
that people have comments about the sign bylaw, they should come Tuesday as well, even though I didn't mention it earlier. So I appreciate your pickup on that.
Careful. So having said that, we will have a few planning board articles. We will not be hearing any request other than a presentation of their budget regarding what we've heard frequently in the news and other places about a school building project. I've met Jay and I and others have met extensively with Bob, Dr. Collins, and DPW, and Anna downstairs, and Melissa over in the school office. There's a lot to unpack there, but we're not going to be doing it in the spring, which I think makes spring meeting a little smoother, if you will.
Or traditional.
I've heard from Mary Beth that we are going to hold on the charter review presentation until
We are-
fall.
Yeah, we couldn't get a quorum just to kind of do a quick look around one more time prior to town meeting, so we'll be picking it up again in November, or whenever we have special town meeting in the fall.
Anybody have anything that they're anticipating other than standard issue, or do we want to talk through potential?
I think total number is probably going to be anywhere between 12 and 14, depending upon how we break them up. We'll have the usual financial articles. There might be one for special ed trust on the school side. Anna and Melissa are researching that now, legal counsel. And I think we'll have one borrowing request from DPW to borrow within the water enterprise to do the Holmes Road Terrace water system project, which will provide redundancy for the water system on the north end of town, right near the Pittsfield line. Whenever we have to do water system work now, we disable the entire system and impact a lot of customers. Billy's proposing this project's been on the books for a while. It's not a lot of money, and the water enterprise at this point can handle it. And people have seen those types of warrant articles before. That's not anything new.
We have 2 CPC approved.
Amos
they
working
request-
on those now with chairman on that, so we'll have CPC as well. Pretty much vanilla, for lack of a better descriptor.
You have no citizen petitions out there in the wind?
Not that the clerk can.
What's the date on?
April 6th, May 1's meeting.
May 1's meeting, but for a citizen petition, when would that have to be in, do you know?
Is that also 14 days?
Yes, yeah, I believe so.
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything at all either. No.
Our goal is we have to have this posted April 21st, April 21st, I believe. So that's why at your April 16th meeting in 2 weeks, we anticipate having a very comprehensive draft. Finance Committee is meeting one more time tomorrow night just to go over the last few remaining general government budget departments, and up to the chairperson of that if they want to approve the budget or meet again. So we'll just have to determine the logistics. Once the select board looks at that warrant, they're good with it, we can schedule a meeting with the Finance Committee and have them go through it as well.
Did you guys see that? I hate to do this, but I'm going to be away 2 weeks from now. I'll call in, or Jay and I talk every day, so I'll probably have reviewed things. And
We'll figure out how to get you.
do you want to see a beach behind me, sir?
No.
Why don't you just put the fake beach behind you?
Yeah, just do an office, Neil. Just do
Yeah.
like the office background.
Right.
And just think you're
You don't
sitting.
even know.
We should all go with Neil.
Yeah, remote meeting where Neil is.
I will work it out.
I think this is actually a blessing that we don't have, sort of I never like to call things controversy, but things that would generate a lot of discussion, because this is a challenging budget year. Everyone in Berkshire County who subscribes to the same service as us is facing 16% in healthcare costs. We met with one of our subcontractors, Jay and I, last Friday, and he said, "Oh, you're with them. The other group is 14-something%." And we're like, "Yes, but cost of switching will eat that delta up, and we've been with this group for a long time. It's very challenging." But
Yeah, they're all within a very tight range. And the trials and tribulations, the logistics of going through and all the previous financial investment over the years, without going into a lot of financial detail, we lose that if we move all to save 2%. And in the grand scheme of things, you're not saving that much money. And in any given year, it could be flip-flopped. Our carrier, BHG, might be 2% less. Unless there's a wide gap between the two for a consistent period of 3, 5, 7 years, we're all in it together. We're all feeling that pain. Thankfully, Lenox isn't of such financial position that we can weather the storm, better. But we just need to be careful on what our expenses are.
do you want to let the cat out of the bag on your recent bond council discussion?
We had a meeting last week with Standard & Poor's, which is our rating agency. As everybody knows, we have 2 very large projects going on. And in order to fund those projects, we have to use a mechanism what's called bond anticipation notes. That's essentially a construction loan. We take out a loan in order to get the project up and going. Then when all of it's said and done, we know what we owe on the project. We can then take that cost and spread that out at an interest rate over 30 years, no different than a mortgage. But for a municipality, there's risk in the bond market for that. And some municipalities are stronger than others in terms of their ability to weather the debt service. So we are going out for another $10 million. We're borrowing out another $7.5 million. So we already had $7.5 million. We're going to put that number back out and continue to roll that borrowing. And then we're adding $10 million to that for the wastewater treatment plant, as Clarence's article explained earlier this week. So it's a total of $17 million that we have to newly borrow. And because we're doing that, our bond rating agency, Standard & Poor's, wants to look at the town. They look at the economic development of the town. They look at its management. They look at its history. They look at its budget. They take a pretty good 360 view of what the town finances are, and we received notification today that we're rated once again AAA or SP +1, which means that we'll get the most competitive rate. However, there was some cautionary language in it that acknowledged Lenox has a lot of capital projects that requires debt. That's not ordinary in any way, shape, or form. We're able to do all of these things because of the town's prior excellent fiscal management stewardship, and we'll continue to that. But as we have these conversations about all of the things that add value to the town, school, public safety, DPW, our library, all of the things that make us what we are as a community, we just have to be cautious and thoughtful and win. As I said in Clarence's article, they're all puzzle pieces. We just have to be strategic in terms of when we put them into the puzzle. But to this board, our finance committee, the previous town manager, once again, Lenox, we did well, and we want to keep it that way.
Good explanation. Thank you very much for that.
It's been a great learning experience over the last night. We've been very busy, but we're getting stuff done, checking it off on the list.
Yes, you are.
But all the first initial authorization note language is quite weighty. We can actually borrow against our anticipated summer revenue, and I mean, I think that would be the most crazy way of financing, but I mean, that's an actual municipal option, which thankfully we don't have to do.
You can, I think almost like being in a casino, you can very easily get into trouble really fast with the ability to borrow, but if you're not paying attention to it, it has to be a trifecta. It's the town manager, it's the town accountant, and the treasurer. So we have to be sure we're having those conversations to look at it from different perspectives. And there's different techniques with how to go about doing that. But our techniques are pretty solid, and they're used routinely. It's just there's different strategy and techniques to do it. And Chris had a plan. We're following that plan. Town has had a plan. We're following that. And we're adapting it and being flexible and nimble as conditions change. And of course, everyone's reading the paper. Everyone sees what's happening in the economy in general. And if we didn't take a $30,000 look at $30,000 foot look, where are we? Where do we want to go? We wouldn't be doing due diligence. And that's to take a step and see what the future is going to hold.
Thank you. I think that's a pretty good summation, and you're a whole 86 days into the job.
Is
so-
it 86?
I don't know. I'm spitballing here,
It
but
felt like 86 2 weeks ago.
yeah. So, you know,
Do I get
it's a
to
lot.
say my usual phrase?
Go ahead, Neil. Feel free. Go ahead.
Every day I'm in his office, I'm like, you get time out on the new guy. No new guy preference, but I'm trying to.
Anna's coming up on a year, and she used it today. So we'll have to brief her on that too. Plus, Deanna also got my nameplate, so I'm now official.
Oh, yeah, you're
It
not.
feels official now once you have a nameplate. I feel like my probationary term is now over because I have a nameplate. Town spent the $25, or how much was it?
I think it was like 17.
And this has been reused, so we saved the taxpayer money. The block has been reused, we just paid for the new. So if I happen to be hit by the crosstown bus, won't be much changes. So.
The only other thing I'll mention, I have had people reach out to me and say, man, it's nuts out there with the economy and tariffs and all these things. How do local towns like us survive that? And there's not a simple answer, but what I'll say is overwhelmingly our revenue stream is through the levy, excise tax, the sewer and water rates, and then of course spending in the local taxes on housing and hotel and meals. So it's not like a big chunk of our actual budget comes from federal aid filtered through state to us. There is obviously the Chapter 90 program, the Community Preservation Act, and indirectly some smaller things like the Cultural Council and Historic District Council. But it's not like the sky is falling from the standpoint. I mean, we self-support by our valuations and our local revenue. Of course, in the macro economy, if people are really struggling and failing to pay taxes or not traveling to spend money in our town, down the road we would have risk. But there's no program on an imminent cancellation list that is suddenly going to give us a hole in our budget.
That's right.
Does that sound sensible to everyone?
Pretty sensible, yeah.
Communities, Lenox is such community, and there's other communities here in the Berkshires. It's called the elasticity of your revenue source. If a community relies on elastic or dynamically changing revenue sources, you come into more trouble at a time such as this when you don't know how the economy is going to respond. So if you rely very heavily on excise tax, whatever that number may be, and it happens to be a year where tariffs impact automotive sales, and you may not have that, and your excise tax drops because new car sales drop, and you're relying on that income, now you're in trouble. Lenox is well situated because, don't hold me to the number, but about 70%, a little bit more, we rely on our real estate tax levy. Now, we could probably save people money if we figured out ways to rely more heavily on other sources of income. But if we do that, we come into risky times such as this, whereas as long as we hover around that 71, 72% number, we can ride out much better any of these fluctuations in the economy because we rely mostly, we live within our means of Proposition 2.5, which means we raise only on the tax levy that of which we need to provide basic municipal services. Our free cash number, which is generated from money we don't spend or money that we don't budget coming in, meaning we conservatively budget, generates our ability to do these larger capital projects and debt service. So the town, I mean, that's a textbook way that municipalities should be financed. That is how Lenox has done it. It's been set up. And, we can ride out the storm. But that doesn't mean that we have the green flag on the course. It means that we put the yellow flag up and we keep moving ahead, but we do so cautiously. And there might be some advantages to it. For example, the bond market may react better, municipal bond market may react better than the stock market. If the stock market's too fluctuating, there might be more demand on the bond market, and then we might even get a better interest rate than what we had. We have to watch that. We have a financial advisor that does it. But that's really one of the answers is we don't rely on an elastic source of revenue to fund the majority of town operations. We can keep the police working, we can keep the fire department and the EMS on call. DPW can still handle the street work if things really bottom out. No different than COVID.
There's a little bit of impact with federal funds coming to the library. There's a little bit of impact with federal funds coming through Title I at the schools and things like that. But, as Jay said, if we have a little money that's not been allocated, that we haven't budgeted for, but we anticipate there's a little bit of free cash, we can ride something like this out. So
And we have to
there are
get-
areas.
We have to get a better handle on exactly what we have. We know the school gets the title money. We know the library gets some, and Tri-Town Health gets some federal money. For the most part, as you said, Neil, we don't rely on it. Chapter 90 is all state. If we have any state grants, that money is good. We have to look for pass-through to make sure that the state's not getting that money as a pass-through from the federal government. We don't have a lot of that. We don't rely on a lot of it. But if there's a relied on federal funding source that we haven't really discovered yet because it's been automatic for so long, there's a risk that we'll have to plug that hole. If the state doesn't plug it, we'll have to plug it, and that's when we have to find the money to do that. And that might be more of a conversation, because now you're talking resource allocation.
One very small comment to your borrowing comment. I mean, the bond market is going to fluctuate more now as a result of the turmoil in the economy as a general theme. We traditionally think of short-term borrowing as our construction loan, and then when the project finishes, we'll bond it out at a 30-year note. We might say to ourselves, within the confines of what we're allowed to do, that let's roll over bond authorizations, at a year or 2 year clip a few times in a row, if that's better, and the bond council thinks the picture might be rosier 2 years from now than now.
Right. Massachusetts General Laws 44 allows a municipality using bands to do that. And we might have to make some strategic principal pay downs. But again, as long as our tourist economy is robust, people want to come to Lenox, we remain an attractive community to do that. The Berkshire Chamber does its thing, One Berkshire does its thing, and our lodging income floats, we should be able to do that strategically. That's the real key.
All right, I think we've overtalked budget, sorry. But it is something we get asked about.
It's a live issue. It's a live issue for every community.
Okay, so we have discussed potential town timeline and topics. We've already covered the HERO Act. The final thing on our calendar is this Friday, the 4th, there's a recognition ceremony. I have the, Diego, go ahead and get Jay's.
No, Neil's better looking.
We have a 30-year anniversary of employment here at the library by Amy Lefebvre. We're going to have a celebration. She's going to be recognized on Friday at the library
Between 3 and 5 o'clock.
between 3 and 5. We have a certificate that we've signed.
To recognize her, and she was the library director for a number of years. She's currently our local historian. She gave a great presentation this past Saturday about the Lenox Minutemen that was very heavily attended. There was really not an empty seat in the house. So we hope that people will come by between 3 and 5 on Friday to fat Amy for her years of loyal service to the citizens of Lenox through her service at the library.
We'll be there.
Yeah, I plan on it. Okay, with that said, I am sorry that I won't be here to chair it, but we'll figure something out. And our next meeting will be 2 weeks from today on the 16th. Could I have a motion to adjourn,
I
please?
make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.